They were built for an era of raw power and minimal technology, but today, dedicated owners are proving superbikes from the 1980s can still dominate with smart, practical upgrades, modern tires, suspension brakes, and more. Here's exactly how they keep these legends alive and riding strong. Let's start with modern radial tires. The weakest link on any 80s superbike is period-correct bias ply rubber. These legacy tires weave cords diagonally across the tread, building up immense heat and flexing under load. Modern radial construction alters handling by running cords perpendicular to the tread. This lets the sidewall flex independently, keeping the contact patch wide, flat, and stable during hard cornering. On a machine like the Kawasaki GPZ-900R or Yamaha FZ-750, this engineering shift allows riders to carry 10 to 15% higher entry speeds through medium radius bends. Instead of leaning at a precarious 45 degrees, a radial-equipped bike can sweep through the same corner at 41 degrees, lowering the risk of a low side slide. On track, FZ750 riders report shaving 2 to 4 seconds per lap simply by swapping old bias ply tires for modern radials, making the heavy machine flick into corners like a modern middleweight. The performance gains show up clearly in hard data. Straight-line braking from 100 km per hour drops from 35 meters down to just 30. It is the ultimate foundation upgrade because every subsequent braking or suspension modification depends entirely on having reliable contact with the pavement. However, fitting modern rubber requires caution. Radials generally require wider rims to sit correctly, and squeezing a wider rear tire into a stock swing arm can pinch the profile, destroying the bike's geometry. Keep the dimensions close to the original aspect ratio, step up the tire pressure by 2 to 3 pounds per square inch, and you get modern road holding without permanent alterations. It is fully reversible, entirely collector-friendly, and changes the machine's character from the very first mile. In second place, modern fork internals. The soft, underdamped front forks of the 1980s represent a major handling hazard when pushing a classic superbike. Under heavy braking, tired factory damping rods immediately collapse, causing the nose to dive violently. This sudden weight transfer compresses the tire, steepens steering geometry, and lightens the rear wheel, upsetting the entire chassis before a corner even begins. Rebuilding these legs with modern cartridge inserts, stiffer springs, and custom valving completely stabilizes front-end behavior. Instead of bottoming out, the fork provides predictable, progressive resistance, absorbing mid-corner bumps while keeping the contact patch firmly planted. This modification is highly recommended for stored machines like the Suzuki GSX-R 750, where decades of sitting leave internal springs sagged and original fork oil degraded into watery sludge. A professional front-end overhaul averages roughly $1,000. While that outlay is significant, the physical results justify the expense. On-track testing of a refreshed GSX-R 750 recorded a 30% reduction in rear wheel hop during hard acceleration, alongside a 0.8-second improvement in 0 to 60 acceleration due to superior power delivery. More importantly, the change in fork dive is massive. Where a stock fork blows through its travel under moderate lever pressure, a cartridge-equipped front end holds its ride height, allowing riders to trail brake deep into corners with total confidence. For anyone riding these legacy machines hard on twisty back roads, this upgrade serves as a necessary safety investment that builds a stable foundation before adding stronger braking hardware. In third place, a modern brake master cylinder paired with braided stainless steel lines. Many riders assume that raw stopping power is entirely down to the calipers and pads, but real confidence begins at the handlebar. 80s superbikes relied on rubber-wrapped brake lines that swell under hydraulic pressure, translating hand effort into a spongy, vague lever feel. Upgrading to braided stainless steel hoses completely eliminates this ballooning effect, ensuring that every ounce of force goes directly to the caliper pistons. By aligning the piston directly with the lever's arc, a radial master cylinder provides immediate, razor-sharp bite and precise modulation. The physical performance gains are immediately measurable. On a classic machine like a GSX-R 750, an emergency stop from 60 miles per hour takes roughly 132 feet on aged factory equipment. Bolt on a high-performance radial master cylinder and braided lines, and that stopping distance drops to just 115 feet, a massive 11% reduction. More importantly, this setup conquers the threat of brake fade. while stock rubber hoses soften and expand as they heat up during spirited riding. The braided stainless system ensures the lever bite remains identical on the first stop and the 10th. This delivers a necessary, track-proven safety gain instead of a cosmetic upgrade, costing between $500 and $850. Coming right after front fork internals, this hydraulic modernization ensures that your stabilized front end has the precise, predictable braking performance to match. In fourth place, rejetting or replacing aged carburetors. Long before an owner suspects internal engine wear, basic drivability issues usually trace back to deteriorating fueling. Over decades, tiny internal orifices clog, slide needles wear thin, and rubber diaphragms perish, resulting in off-throttle hesitation, mid-range bogging, or a fluctuating idle. On legendary machines like the Yamaha FZ750 or early Suzuki GSX-R 750, a classic warning sign of fueling imbalance is a temperamental cold start, where the rider must manually hold the throttle open at 1 to 2,000 RPM for several minutes just to keep the cold engine from stalling. Forget complex, character-killing fuel injection conversions. Installing an inexpensive aftermarket rejet kit, comprising fresh pilot, needle, and main jets, restores crisp, instantaneous throttle response. These brass hardware kits typically cost between $30 and $60, with professional bench labor adding another $80 to $120 if you prefer to skip the solvent baths and tiny gaskets yourself. Before tuning, however, owners must inspect the intake tracks for brittle rubber boots and vacuum leaks, followed by a precise mechanical synchronization of all 4 carburetor slides to balance vacuum draw. For late 80s electronic carburetor hybrids, recalibrating the throttle position sensor after rejetting is the final step to lock in a rock-solid idle. This systematic overhaul returns the bike to its factory-fresh pavement-tearing glory while keeping its raw analog soul fully intact. It represents the first major drivetrain-focused intervention on our list, delivering massive real-world performance gains for a very modest financial investment. In fifth place, a modern lithium-ion battery. 1980s superbikes are notorious for electrical starting drama, often caused by aging lead-acid cells that struggle to deliver consistent voltage. These legacy batteries lose their charge quickly during storage, leaving riders stranded with a slow, clicking starter motor. Swapping that heavy traditional unit for a modern lithium iron phosphate battery offers one of the cleanest reliability per dollar gains available for classic machines. The physical benefits of this swap show up immediately on the scale and the voltmeter. A typical lead-acid battery weighs around 7 kilograms, whereas a compact lithium equivalent tips the scales at just 2 kilograms. This instantly shaves 5 kilograms of dead weight from high up in the chassis, directly improving low-speed handling and flickability. More importantly, the cranking performance is vastly superior. On a machine like the BMW K100, which features a notoriously sensitive starter sprag clutch, installing a lithium unit raises charging voltage from a marginal 13.2 volts to a rock-solid stable 14.4 volts under load. This consistent power delivery ensures crisp, immediate engine turnover every single time you press the starter button, even in cold weather. These batteries also require zero maintenance, holding their charge for months without the need for a constant trickle charger. Because they share the same physical terminals or include simple foam spacers, the swap is entirely plug-and-play. This high level of reversibility makes it a favorite among collectors who want modern dependability for weekend rides, but prefer to keep the machine fully factory original. It represents a quick, invisible upgrade that instantly fortifies the vintage electrical backbone. In sixth place, LED headlights. Riding an 80s superbike after sunset can feel like a high-speed exercise in shadow boxing as the original yellow-tinged halogen bulbs struggle to cut through the darkness. Older halogen lighting can be inadequate on unlit roads, casting a dim, diffuse glow that leaves riders guessing what lies ahead. Swapping that outdated bulb for a modern LED retrofit completely alters the night riding experience by throwing crisp, high-contrast illumination down the tarmac. This upgrade does more than improve cosmetics. A quality LED unit produces around 1,950 lumens of output, compared to a marginal 1,000 to 1,600 lumens for a factory halogen. More importantly, this clean 5,700 Kelvin white light improves contrast and depth perception, rather than simply offering raw brightness, helping you spot road hazards seconds earlier. The physical benefit under the skin is just as important. Vintage charging systems are notoriously weak, with very little electrical headroom to spare. A modern LED retrofit slashes power draw by roughly 70% compared to halogen, relieving immense strain on aging stators and voltage regulators. However, safety and legality must go hand in hand. To avoid blinding oncoming traffic with uncontrolled glare, owners must use DOT-approved or ECE-compliant hardware designed to work with the bike's reflector. Best of all, by simply swapping the bulb and keeping the original lens, you preserve the classic, factory original silhouette. It is an invisible, fully reversible safety upgrade that keeps the machine's vintage spirit intact while giving you modern, confidence-inspiring vision when the sun goes down. In 7th place, a digital gauge cluster. The original cockpit of an 80s Superbike is an iconic space, but reading fading, vibrating analog needles at high speeds can be a massive challenge. Glare, age, and sun damage often turn those classic dials into a guessing game, just when a rider needs precise engine telemetry. Upgrading to a digital cluster does not mean ruining the vintage aesthetic with a sterile, flat-screen tablet that looks out of place. Vintage-style aftermarket units, like the Moto Gadget Chrono Classic, blend seamlessly into the original dashboard layout. These analog-digital hybrids feature a physical, sweeping tachometer needle on top of a discrete LCD readout, hiding modern function inside a classic 80mm round housing. This swap offers incredible accuracy, delivering speed readings precise to within plus or minus 0.1 kilometers per hour. Instead of relying on a bouncy, cable-driven mechanical speedometer that wavers under engine vibration, the system delivers rock-solid, cleaner data for speed, RPM, and system voltage. It also allows riders to integrate vital alerts, warning of high coolant temperatures before head gaskets suffer permanent damage. While Japanese sport bikes can accept these units via a simple bracket swap, other machines like the Ducati 851 require custom mounts to preserve the visual flow. Because the cockpit is the most intimate connection between a rider and the machine, keeping the original look is part of preserving the bike's identity. This upgrade represents a sympathetic modernization rather than a radical custom rewrite, respecting the legend while providing the safety of modern electronic monitoring. As the first convenience-focused change, it ensures that watching the bike's vitals is as reliable as the ride itself. In 8th place, tuning or replacing the rear shock. Once the front suspension and brakes are modernized, any remaining handling issues migrate directly to the rear of the chassis. Factory shock absorbers on 1980s Superbikes relied on basic damping circuits and internal seals that degrade rapidly over decades of use, often losing nitrogen pressure and emulsifying their oil. Under hard acceleration, a worn-out unit fails to control weight transfer, causing the rear end to squat excessively and wallow through fast sweeps. On uneven tarmac, this lack of rebound damping makes the back tire bounce, breaking traction just when trying to drive out of a corner. Swapping the tired factory unit for a modern, fully adjustable gas-charged shock, costing around $1,200, completely stabilizes the chassis footprint. These modern dampers separate high and low speed circuits, allowing the rear tire to track road imperfections smoothly while resisting squat under power. On twisty back roads, the machine remains settled and poised during fast direction changes, holding its line instead of drifting wide on corner exit. This mechanical refinement benefits road riders, canyon carvers, and track day enthusiasts alike, dramatically increasing cornering confidence without altering the vintage visual heritage. Because a rear shock is a simple bolt-on component that does not require permanent frame modifications, the swap is entirely reversible, allowing collectors to preserve the machine's absolute factory layout for the future. It delivers a modern, composed ride that directly balances the chassis, keeping the legendary character fully intact. 9th on our list, a discrete USB or Bluetooth power outlet. While purists might argue against mixing digital accessories with classic analog machinery, the modern reality of commuting and touring makes mobile power a genuine necessity. Today's riders need reliable power to keep phones, GPS navigation units, and helmet intercoms charged during long weekend journeys. Yet clunky plastic brackets clamped to clip-ons completely ruin the clean visual flow of an 80s cockpit. The solution lies in a completely hidden installation. Running a simple dedicated 12-volt wire assembly directly from the battery allows owners to tuck a compact charging port under the seat or behind the frame rails near the fuel tank. This smart placement delivers necessary power to a tank bag or jacket pocket without changing the clean, original look of the dashboard. The technical setup is remarkably straightforward, requiring a basic step-down regulator that converts 12-volt motorcycle current into a standard 5-volt USB feed. Opting for a quality unit with a typical 2-amp output provides enough power to charge modern smartphones quickly, while wiring an inline 5-amp fuse directly into the positive lead protects the delicate vintage wiring loom from accidental short circuits. Selecting the correct fuse rating is essential, as vintage stators operate on razor-thin electrical margins and cannot handle sudden current spikes. By using standard SAE quick disconnect terminals, owners can unplug the entire assembly in seconds, leaving no trace of modern technology behind. This upgrade represents a highly practical, low-cost utility addition rather than a style statement, serving as a sympathetic, fully reversible bridge between heavy chassis modifications and thorough electrical overhauls. 10th on our list, rerouting and upgrading the wiring harness. While builders often blame temperamental engine behavior on bad fueling or weak ignition coils, the actual culprit is usually hiding inside the factory loom. Over 40 years, motorcycle electrics undergo a slow, invisible decay. Copper wires corrode, plastic insulation becomes brittle and cracks, and previous owners leave behind a mess of poorly executed splices and tapped circuits. This degradation creates frustrating, intermittent faults that vanish during troubleshooting only to return miles from home. Addressing this structural weakness means moving past temporary fixes to install a simplified custom harness. Splicing in a minimalist loom on a machine like the BMW K100 or Yamaha FJ1200 allows owners to eliminate redundant factory circuits. Removing heavy, outdated systems like the bulb monitoring unit, load-shedding relays, and self-canceling indicators sheds roughly 2 pounds of dead weight while dramatically cleaning up the space under the fuel tank. For those seeking complete reliability, modular systems like the MotoGadget M unit replace the traditional fuse box and mechanical relays. This solid-state digital controller serves as the central brain of the motorcycle, featuring built-in diagnostics that make future troubleshooting as simple as looking for a red status light on the casing. A custom loom kit generally costs between $300 and $350, with professional shop labor adding another $250 for those who prefer to avoid the painstaking task of soldering. This infrastructure upgrade represents a fundamental long-term investment, turning a fragile electrical system into a dependable modern backbone. Because these early superbikes operate on razor-thin electrical margins, routing a clean path for current is the single best way to protect all other system upgrades. 11th on our list, a modern air-fuel controller. While basic carburetor rejetting offers a static fix for fueling issues, it remains a physical compromise locked into whatever brass jets are currently sitting in the bowls. A modern digital air-fuel controller takes a completely different path, enabling ongoing real-time tuning that transforms how an 80s engine delivers its power. Instead of struggling with flat spots in the mid-range, riders gain smoother, far more usable power right across the rev range. The real-world benefits show up clearly in community reports, which document average performance gains of roughly 2 to 4 horsepower alongside a 3 to 5% improvement in fuel economy. This level of fine-tuning proves highly valuable for owners who regularly ride through changing elevations or plan to swap out supporting components like air filters and intake tracts later on. The digital controller acts as an adaptable brain, constantly optimizing the mixture to match current riding conditions. However, integrating this level of electronics requires a careful eye on preservation. Splicing a permanent electronic fuel injection conversion into a classic machine can quickly damage its collector value. To protect the bike's long-term worth, wise builders opt for plug-and-play systems that connect directly to existing ignition signals without cutting the factory wiring loom. This ensures the entire installation remains fully reversible, letting you enjoy modern drivability on the road while retaining the ability to return the bike to absolute factory original specification for a future sale. It serves as the ultimate tuning foundation, preparing the engine's lungs before opening up the exhaust. 12th on our list, an aftermarket exhaust system. while earlier modifications on our list establish safe, reliable performance. Upgrading the pipe targets the emotional core of classic superbike ownership. Riders rarely swap exhausts purely to chase peak figures on a dyno sheet. The true draw is the rich, immediate auditory feedback and the sharper engine response that riders feel as much as they measure. Still, the physical weight savings are significant. Swapping a bulky, rusted factory silencer for a modern stainless steel or carbon fiber slip-on unit sheds about 10 pounds of heavy steel from the chassis. On the dynamometer, a quality slip-on provides a modest but welcome gain of 2 to 5 horsepower. More than the peak output, this change cleans up throttle delivery, giving bikes like the Kawasaki GPZ 900R or the Honda CBR 900RR Fireblade a more immediate, urgent pull when rolling on the gas in the mid-range. Owners must manage the practical trade-offs with care. A raw race system sounds magnificent on a closed track, but public roads require restraint. Noise regulations are strict, meaning riders should select compliant options to avoid unwanted legal trouble. High-quality aftermarket brands design systems that carry street-legal certification, keeping noise levels within local 80 decibel limits and matching ECE or DOT standards. By selecting a system with removable baffles, you retain the classic throatier growl of a vintage 4-cylinder engine without generating excess noise or deafening your neighbors. This bolt-on upgrade completes the motorcycle's overall feel, delivering a constant sensory payoff that turns every quick gear change into a physical event on the road. 13th on our list, upgraded brake pads and rotors. While chasing modern braking performance often leads owners to contemplate expensive multi-piston caliper swaps, a highly cost-effective leap in stopping power begins right at the friction surface. 80s Superbikes left the showroom floor with soft organic or low-grade metallic pads gripping heavy, solid steel discs. This setup prioritized component longevity over raw friction, resulting in a dull, wooden lever feel that inspires very little confidence. Swapping those aged parts for high-friction sintered pads, such as the widely favored EBCHH compound, completely transforms the initial bite. These metal-fused pads maintain a stable, high coefficient of friction even as temperatures spike, demanding far less finger pressure at the handlebar to generate strong braking torque. On heavy machines like the Kawasaki ZX-10 or Suzuki GSX-R 1100, this simple swap eliminates that terrifying sensation of squeezing the lever toward the grip with very little response. However, high-bite pads require a matching partner. Upgrading to modern, full-floating, slotted or drilled rotors ensures rapid heat dissipation and constant outgassing. This thermal control is essential, as spirited canyon carving or casual track use quickly reveals the structural limits of solid factory discs, causing them to heat warp and fade under sustained pressure. The physical gains of this dual upgrade are immediate. When pairing these sintered pads and premium rotors with a previously modernized master cylinder, riders report a 15 to 20% reduction in overall braking distance. That engineering shift can pull a 60-mile-per-hour emergency stop down by over 20 feet, providing modern, repeat-stop safety. It represents a sensible, high-value upgrade path that delivers modern deceleration without the complexity of caliper conversions. 14th on our list, bar-end mirrors. The original fairing or handlebar-mounted mirrors on 80s Superbikes are notorious for turning rearward visibility into a blurry, vibrating guessing game. High-frequency engine harmonics travel straight up the long, spindly factory stalks of machines like the Suzuki GSX-R 1100 or Yamaha FJ 1200, turning everything behind the rider into an unusable, shaky smudge. Moving the mirrors to the very ends of the handlebars utilizes the bar's natural leverage and heavier bar-end weights to absorb this mechanical buzz, resulting in a significantly clearer, more stable reflection. Beyond calming the high-frequency vibration, this outward placement pushes the glass further into the rider's peripheral vision, completely clearing their elbows and shoulders from the field of view. Instead of staring at the sleeves of your own riding jacket, you get a wide, uninterrupted panorama of the road behind, which dramatically improves lane-changing safety during tight city commuting. This subtle physical swap also cleans up the bike's cockpit visually, stripping away the bulky, antenna-like stock brackets to restore the low, clean, aggressive silhouette of a classic 80s machine. For daily riders, a quality set of machined aluminum bar ends, which typically costs around $70, delivers a massive boost in street safety without requiring permanent modifications to the fairings or controls. It represents a highly practical, low-cost finishing touch that modernizes the cockpit feel and improves daily road safety, all while respecting the legendary machine's core vintage identity. 15th on our list, a steering damper. Early superbikes, particularly the legendary Suzuki GSX-R 1100, are famous for their lightning-fast, sometimes terrifying front-end behavior. Designed with an aggressive steering rake and a short swing arm, these high-horsepower machines easily get light up front, leading to violent headshake when accelerating hard over uneven pavement. While modern machines handle road imperfections with calm, calculated compliance, an undamped 80s icon is always just one sharp asphalt seam away from a full-blown tank slapper. Installing a steering damper provides a vital safety net. This compact hydraulic cylinder mounts directly between the frame rails and the lower triple clamp, using metered oil resistance to limit the speed and physical travel of sudden high-frequency handlebar oscillations. It absorbs the sudden mechanical shocks that would otherwise rip the grips right out of your hands, helping you ride out a front-end wobble without losing control. Many vintage-style dampers feature manual clicker dials, allowing riders to quickly tune the damping resistance to match road conditions. However, a damper is a safety net, never a cure-all. It should never be used to mask underlying chassis flaws like notched steering stem bearings, sagging fork springs, or unbalanced wheels. This upgrade sits at the end of our list because it functions best as a final touch, once your tires, brakes, and suspension are already properly sorted to modern performance standards. For around $250, an adjustable damper offers cheap, highly effective insurance for high-speed riding. It successfully preserves the raw, visceral character of these vintage machines, keeping the soul of the 80s superbike alive without letting its lively geometry get the best of you on the modern road. Across all 15 upgrades, one truth becomes clear. Preserving a classic isn't about chasing modern lap times, but liberating its raw soul from obsolete engineering. These targeted refinements don't dilute the character of these machines. They unlock it, transforming intimidating relics into usable daily thrills. These legends belong on the tarmac, not in a museum. Which upgrade are you tackling first? Let us know in the comments.